All right, I guess I'm live. This is really cool. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of looking through like how to do YouTube Live and figuring out the best way to do things. I need to be a little bit quiet because my baby's asleep, but yeah, basically what I was thinking about doing I know no one's here, but in case I decide to put this up like afterwards, I need to turn this off. I think there's a sync issue. I think there's a sync issue. Well, I can't figure this right now. I'll look at the videos afterwards and then see if it works. If not, then I'll just fix it later. But what I was planning on doing is you know how I mentioned that I wanted to do like live projects, and I know that you guys can't see my screen right now, but the eventual goal is that I wanna start making like some projects and share my screen and just like stream the whole thing, and then later on kind of fast forward it in like 4x speed and make a video out of it. Um, Mainly because I feel like there's not enough like videos out there where it goes like really nitty gritty. And I know that when I was learning, there was like this one channel, I forgot what it was called now. Maybe I could find it. But when I first started learning how to program, um, actually it wasn't like the first time, but it was like kind of like 1 year into it when I decided that I wanted to do like web rather than iOS. I started to learn Ruby on Rails because that's what I knew the boot camps that I was looking into. They're teaching Ruby on Rails, so I was like, oh, I should learn Ruby on Rails. And this guy, he's actually a designer actually. Um, this designer guy, basically he was making his own Ruby on Rails site. He made some cool sites, but I just watched him like program like a simple CRUD app, and it really helped me kind of like understand how the Rails frameworks work. For any of you guys who know how like the Rails framework works, it's basically, I say basically so much. That's another thing. But anyway, anyways, the way the Rails framework works is there is a bunch of CLI commands that you have, and CLI is short for command line interface. But basically, basically, the command line interface, you'll say something like Rails. Oh, man, I forgot all the commands, but it's like Rails create app or something like that, and it will create your app for you. And then there's a concept of an ORM in Rails, which is stands for object relational mapping, I believe. But basically, um, the object relation mapping is really good for they have something called active record, which is an ORM which talks to your Postgres server or your MySQL server. So they did all these like Rails is really cool because it like abstracts out all of these like concepts, like it abstracts out all of like the database queries that you would have to write manually, and instead of doing them manually, what you do is you write these like models and migration files, and then you essentially use a CLI to manage your database, and you use your models to basically write like Ruby code to that translates into like SQL like queries, right? And you could do really complex things like joins, left inner joins, all these things that you could pretty much do in like a regular SQL query. You could like do using the ORM. Some people don't really like it, but yeah, like these days, I'm more in the favor of not using an ORM because it kind of adds a layer of complexity, but it's really powerful. Like the ORM's like super powerful if you're trying to just get off the ground like and just build something really quickly. So Django is kind of like that. It's very similar. So if you know Rails, you could easily figure out Django, and Django is a Python framework if you guys don't know. And Ember.js is like similar, and Angular is kind of trying to do that without like the database portion of it. But Angular also has like a CLI aspect to it, which is a lot more like mature than React's CLI. React only has like create React app. Last I checked, I don't think they have anything that like manages their components and all this kind of stuff. But Angular CLI, you gotta hand it to them. It's really good. You could create all of your components, your services, your directives, what have you, even your routes and your initial test files. All of those can be created. But yeah, looks like I have like 4 people watching, which is pretty cool. But let me know on the chat. I don't know if I have to do anything to like start the chat. It's like my first like actual live chat. So if my audio is not sync, let me know, because everything's pretty much all new and it's really hard to figure out. Like I can't see my own stream for some reason. But yeah, I don't really have any plans today. I just wanted to test out the stream. I want to make it like a weekly thing. So that's kind of why, yeah, I basically want to do it a weekly thing. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them as I go, and if not, I'll just like keep chatting about whatever's on my mind / work on some stuff. Yeah, I guess I could say a little bit about this project that I want to work on. In one of my videos before, I quickly made this thing. It was my resume video. I made this resume video where I went through all of like my different resumes and all these stuff. And one of the websites that I still have probably somewhere. I remember writing that, and it was like really, really like shitty, pretty much. Like the code is pretty shitty. Like the idea is really cool, but it's the app was, I called it Novelist, and it's essentially like a story making. I gotta be careful because my baby's sleeping in the other room, and yeah. So like I'm basically moving in sometime in April to like a bigger place, and right now, the baby's room is like 5 feet from this room, so it's like one door, one or two steps away. So yeah, it sucks having to be careful, but the place I'm moving to is like quite large. It's definitely like enough for our family of 3 to grow in, and I'll have like a dedicated YouTube space on like the top like loft area. So I'm pretty excited to like be a little bit more loud in my videos and be like more myself. And but yeah, anyways, going back to my app idea, it's this like it's a shared story experience. So my plan is like initially I wanted to make it like many users can create new stories, but I think what I'm gonna do is just one person will make. Actually, I'll probably be the one that does it, but like the website will just have one story active at a time, and then that story initially there'll be the first sentence will be given to like all the users that are using it, and then the rest of the users will essentially be what's the word, like there'll be like a Reddit kind of like voting system. So anyone else who has access to the site, they can like suggest like a sentence for that will continue on the story, and then if it's good, then it will like continue on. So that's kind of what I was thinking about doing. Yeah, it's just like another app that I wanted to do. But yeah, it's a very simple idea, but it has like some like interesting aspects to it, like voting is one of those things. Reddit voting system is really cool to build, so it'd be cool for people to be able to build it out and see it and things like that. So I thought that would be pretty cool. But yeah, there's not much else. Let's see. But yeah, that's pretty much what I was thinking about. So in terms of the tech stack, I'm definitely like a React guy. So I really like React, even though I haven't been able to write too much React lately. I write Angular at work most of the time. I do have a side project at work that uses React, but I haven't touched that in a little bit because it's pretty much done, and I can't. There's so much other stuff to do, so I can't really just justify time working on that. But I mainly code in Angular for like the front end projects that I have, and Python and JavaScript for any other back end work that I do. But yeah, in terms of this project's tech stack, I wanted to do. I really wanted to use React, obviously, like I said, but I was talking to a coworker about AWS's Aurora, and apparently it's an RDS that is compute based, so you pay per use rather than so traditionally if you wanted to host like some kind of RDS, and RDS is basically relational databases. It's like a MySQL, Postgres, SQL, SQLite. All these are just relational databases, right? And if you want to like spin up a database, you usually just like go into the RDS managed systems and you spin one up, and then now you have access to that, and you could attach to like a EC2 instance or like whatever, right? Some volume. But with Amazon Aurora, from my understanding, is that it's basically really cheap because it's kind of like, my understanding is that it's kind of like Lambda, where it's compute as a service, and I'm guessing that Aurora would be similar to that. So I'm kind of looking into that, and then I was also talking to my buddy, and he was saying I should check out AppSync, which is kind of like Amazon's version of GraphQL, and GraphQL is just basically Facebook created GraphQL, and now it's like kind of like a different way of creating your database. Before, like you would make APIs. So the difference between like a GraphQL and like an API is that an API, you kind of have like versions of different APIs, and then you hit an endpoint, and then it gives you like a payload, right? But with GraphQL, is you essentially using the GraphQL schema language or query language. It's basically like JSON. You query the payload that you want, and then the GraphQL server will resolve that into whatever like data that you ask. So there's a few cool things about GraphQL. I haven't touched too much of it myself, but it's like basically imagine if you could wrap. Imagine if you never have to like write new endpoints. You just make new like mutation resolve, like new GraphQL types that like mutates or like resolves into like different data sources essentially. So a cool thing about GraphQL is that you could wrap it around pretty much anything that like resolves into some data. So let's say that you have like an old legacy like API, you could just wrap a GraphQL. So you could actually call the endpoint behind the scene. Let's say that someone made a query for like a users, and then it would actually call that users behind the scene. But yeah, and then it would like resolve back up to that payload. But yeah, that's essentially what GraphQL is. It's maybe I'll do a video once I dive more deep into it. I definitely don't think I'm an expert in it yet because I don't use it often. I mean, I haven't used it in like a large project. I've only done like small dinky apps on my own. But yeah, let's see. Oh, I have a question. Cool. First question. Dima Boychev. Sorry. Which JavaScript? So I kind of answered this earlier, but I'm mostly familiar with Angular and React. I'm really familiar with Angular because I use it at work. I'm really familiar with React because I use that at work as well. Those are my two favorite JavaScript frameworks. I prefer React. If I could, I'm always trying to like write React as much as possible at work, but there's these things about organizations, they want you to be like essentially a cog in a sort. But I'm trying to change that a little bit. I haven't tried Vue, but Vue is very like component based as well. So I don't really concentrate on learning new frameworks really anymore. Why did I decide to hi Levy? Why did I decide to leave accounting? Accounting was it's weird. Like when I was right out of college, a little bit of a story here, but right when I got out of college, it was like 2010-ish. So if any of you guys like went to college during that time or was finishing college during that time, it was in the cusp of the financial crisis, which is like 2008. That's when it happened. So I was always under the impression that if I just went to college, some like UC, then I would get a job, right? But that was not the case, and I didn't do any like good internships or anything. I wasn't very good at school, to be honest. So that was like kind of like after college, I was like, oh, shoot, I can't find a job, and I found this program called CAP in Santa Clara, which was like an accelerated accounting thing where in 8 months you do like all of the classes you need to do to sit for the CPA exam, and all of my research during that time, it pointed to this one fact: if you are an accountant, if you're an accountant, you will always have a job, right? Because no matter what company, there is always like a job for an accountant, right? So I saw that like, hey, this is like a great way, and I did economics, so it kind of fit, right? So like my mom is always like in the number side, and my dad's like an engineer, so I always had this like, I knew I was gonna be something to do with like business or like something to do with engineering, but I didn't get good enough grades to get like be an engineer. Like yeah, I was really bad in school. But the main reason why I first left my first job as an accountant is because my boss was terrible. He was like one of the worst bosses like imaginable. It was a small Korean CPA firm, and literally he would like throw like binders and all this kind of stuff, like crazy stuff, like literally things that you cannot do in like a modern day like working environment, right? But he decided to, he was crazy basically. I don't know if I could say that without, anyways, yeah, he was really crazy, and it like really threw me off of accounting. And I think if I got into one of the big fours like EY, I was really close with EY or KPMG or any of like, you know, PwC, any of the big fours, then I probably still would be an accountant. Maybe. So that's the real reason why I left. I still think accounting is like a very good job. I think the pay is decent. I don't know exactly the figures, but I think 80 grand around here for like someone who is a CPA is pretty average. I may be totally wrong. This was like a long time ago when I did the research on this, but yeah, any accountants, let me know. Yeah, Dima Angular 2, the Angular 2 plus. Basically you shouldn't be doing Angular like JS anymore unless you absolutely have to. Yeah, I think they're out to like Angular 7, and our team is actually like trying to go from 4 to 7 now. They kind of like went from 6 to 7 really quickly. But yeah, so thanks for asking me the questions. It's kind of interesting to see you guys. Yeah. Let's see. I watched the video where you talked about boot camp. How long was a boot camp? How much coding, if any of you? Okay, so I was probably gonna do another like entire video on like updating like the whole boot camp situation, but my boot camp was how long was it? 9 weeks part time, like online, and 9 weeks full time, and it was $13,000. How much of coding and I actually knew a decent amount of coding because I was studying about 3 years before, but I studied like Java, and then I studied like a year of Java and I gave up, and then I did iOS for like a year, and then I did like a year and like 2 months or something. I even released an app, and then I did like web, because I knew I wanted to get into bootcamp, and I studied a couple times, like for while I was working, and then I got into like a few boot camps, and I chose Dev Bootcamp, which actually no longer exists, but I chose that for like many reasons. I don't know if I ever shared exactly the reasons why, but I think I have done that in the previous career-wise, would you recommend programming or accounting then? Which one has more stability? Stability, I would say both. Programming definitely makes more money, hands down. Career-wise, I always say like follow your passion. I know it's kind of bad advice, but I kind of found programming and all that kind of stuff by accident. So the story is, one of my two closest friends are both engineers, and I lived with one of them I mean, oh yeah, sorry. Let me finish the story real quick and then I'll answer you. I lived with one of them, and the other one, he was kind of like, he just came back from Korea and he didn't have a job, and he was like studying. But anyways, we started like working on apps together, and it's funny because I didn't want to program at the time, and I wanted to like learn how to do art and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, I'll do all the assets, and you guys can do. Oh, I'm getting a little cold. Whew. Sorry. But yeah, so basically I started doing art and then they were programming. They were actually learning how to program. One of them was a CS major, but he was like a QA engineer for a long time, and he was working on like other games in like different languages, but they both like learned Android at that year that we lived together. And eventually they both went to the city to find work, and I left my accounting, like terrible accounting job, and then my dad hooked me up with this job at this like small, not that small. It was like a 70 something person like company at the time. It was a contract manufacturing company. They made hardware equipment, and I started there as like a SMT programmer, which is like it's not that crazy of a job, but I did that and I became a PM, and I did that for 5 years. But during that time, I remember my interest got sparked from creating these apps with my friends, and I actually tried to do like continue to make side business with art. I even did like a comic strip thing for like a good year, and all this kind of stuff. But then I wanted to go back and creating more apps, but they were too far away, so I decided to like just learn programming, and then I could do both of them, right? So that's how I got interested in programming, and eventually it became to a point where I was spending all my free time, like literally all my free time, just programming because I wanted to. And I just loved like seeing people like use and comment about like the things that I built. It's definitely crazy to get like someone to like see your app and then like play with it and then do something that you don't expect. It's crazy. But yeah, I really love it, and I still love it, and it blows my mind that I get to like program for a living, honestly. Like every day I go to work really happy. My commute's 2 hours long. Like one way is 2 hours long. I've been doing that for 2 years. So like either I'm crazy or I really, really love my job. But also the pay is like pretty nice. That's like another thing. But yeah, so I would say if you want to try programming, think about it. Do the 100 day challenge. I don't know why I can't say it. Do the 100 days challenge. Like make like a significant commit every day. And if you feel like you want to do it, then continue doing it. If you don't, then there's tons of other things in life. I feel. Sorry, Dima. I meant if you guys do AngularJS mess at your job. Sorry, I don't understand that question. I meant if you guys do AngularJS mess at your job. I'm not exactly sure what you mean, but feel free to comment on below. But yeah, so I think I answered all these questions. It seems like, oh yeah, yeah. Yeah. The things about like all of these like stories that come throughout life, I always feel like the hardships that you deal with and like the things that you go through during the time is like terrible and really difficult, but I always remember those kind of like hardships as like good moments in my life, like that's like the moments when I like grew, and like the moments that I became like better, and I don't know, it's pretty cool. But anyways, I will probably put a timer on this maximum to be an hour. So if I'm gonna continue like reading this stuff a little bit, actually I don't really know what to do in the live stream. Like if it's really easy when you guys are like asking questions because then I could just answer them. But if I have to just like think about, but yeah. Did you lack any formal CS degree? I had imposter syndrome. So, I actually made a video on imposter syndrome a while ago, like way a while ago. But I definitely had it, but I don't really have it anymore. Like the cool thing and like the humble thing to say is, oh, I still to this day have imposter syndrome. But to be frank, I don't really have imposter syndrome. And here's the reason why. I think for me is I the moment like I realize I don't have imposter syndrome is number one is when I realize that it's impossible to know everything, and people who have 20, 10, 15, or like whatever amount of experience that they have, a lot of them, basically everyone doesn't know everything. Like that's like the number one thing when I realized that. And then number two is when I started to lead projects on my own and complete them and deliver them and get like recognition for them. And then that was like a big moment when I was like, oh shoot, I could actually do like, I could work here and I could lead things. I'm not just one of those guys who are getting told what to do. It's more like I could go into a room full of engineers in a variety of levels, and then I could hold my own. I could talk about any topic, and if I don't know something, I could not proudly, but I could be like, hey, I don't know that. So what is that? And even if it's like a common thing, I don't feel anything anymore saying I don't know. And I think once I realized that, I realized I don't really have imposter syndrome anymore. I definitely have imposter syndrome on YouTube because I I don't really know what the heck I'm doing. Like I keep doing this, like I keep like opening this, like I'm gonna do something. And I have this, but it's not like I'm gonna like read this documentation in front of you guys. But yeah, like you'll get over imposter syndrome. I think it's definitely it's possible to get over that. Yeah, thanks for the question. So if you guys are joining this anytime like late, let me know what other types of video you guys want to see, because one thing I was thinking about doing is I wanted to do like a little bit of skits. Man, I miss Joma so much. He hasn't made it, but yeah, basically I want to do some skits like what he used to do. I have a few ideas. I don't want to do like an entire like his is like really great, like really grand. Mine would be like pretty shitty and like not that great. But I love YouTube because it's such an interesting like creative medium, and I follow like a lot of people, and there's this one guy I follow. His name's David So. I remember watching him. I remember watching him. He I think he first tried to be like a musician and it didn't work out, and then he made this like video about this girl from UCLA who was like kind of racist, and then he kind of blew up, and ever since then he's been making like really good videos. But now when I see him, he's doing like all different sorts of stuff. Like he's still does his like YouTube stuff. He recently started a podcast. He did what else did he do? Yeah, he filmed a movie called Gook with like some other Korean actor guy. He's an incredible singer. But yeah, I really like this guy. Like he's great. Watch, my wife's gonna come and say something. No, she's just using words. But yeah, like I want to do something like him. I don't want just this channel to be just about programming. I know most people are gonna subscribe to it, but I'm doing this kind of for fun. I mean, obviously there is like some sort of like revenue stream possibility, which is you know, like I'm really interested in business and I've always tried to start new businesses. So, you know, I'm doing YouTube partially for like the revenue side of it, partially because I want to really help and, you know, give back in some form. And another part is like, I really like the medium. I really like creating videos. I really like this, whatever this is. But yeah, I just like this whole like medium. And I feel like I could be creative, which is something that's like hard to do when you're like working full time and you have a kid and yeah, when life gets in the way. But yeah, I'm trying to be good about everything. Yeah. Oh, cool. That's cool that you watch David So as well. Maybe one day we could. I know my channel is like super small and doesn't even relate to his stuff, but I would love to like be honest, like new podcasts or something, in the future. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of what I was thinking about doing. Um, let's see. How's the audio quality? Just because I'm like kind of testing it. Is there any like syncing issue, Levy? What you might not know is that there's like a latency in my screen versus what you guys see. So it's just one of those things. One thing that is interesting about YouTube is that shoot vlogs during your commute. If it's the thing about my commute is that it's so hard. I try to do that, but it's really awkward vlogging in front of like random people, like super awkward. Like I think I'm not at that stage yet where I'm past that. There is a sync issue. Okay, that's good. The video has a delay. Excuse me. Let me try to fix that. Actually, I don't know how to fix that. I saw a YouTube video on how to fixing it. No, it's the OBS software that I'm using. They say that I have to do something to event. Okay, so here it is, and then yeah, I'm gonna try to raise this to 400. Close. Hello. 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 Yeah, I don't know. It might just be I'll look at the video and I'll try to like do some more stuff in the future and try to fix it. It's because here's the thing, like one thing that sucks about using your phone is that it's really crappy quality, and I don't think this is that much crappier. I mean that much better because I'm using my GoPro, but I'm planning to buy like a better camera for it, for live streaming specifically, because live streaming, like I said, I really want to stream my screen in the future and then just build projects and answer questions at the same time. Because like one thing I haven't been doing a lot is that one thing I haven't been doing a lot is I haven't been building my own like side projects in a while, and I really want to do that. Hey Soul, oh okay, are you in US? I work in San Francisco. Yeah, in San Francisco. So I get the US. Thanks for the sub, by the way, Dima. See, like that's another thing about YouTube. Like I feel so awkward like saying stuff like that. Thanks for the sub, subscribe if you like, and all this kind of stuff. It's just I'm not like it's not in me yet. So we'll see. But yeah, it's almost 11, so I think I'm gonna end this stream for now. Thanks, Livy and Dima. Special shout outs to you guys for asking questions. But yeah, this was a test stream, so I'll just leave it up. I might edit it a little bit. I don't even know how that will work, but yeah, this is. I hope I get better at this, and I hope this kind of content is good because, like comments wise, this is like definitely the best way for me to just answer, because one thing I realize about comments, it's hard for me to answer all comments in that I get, and I used to get a lot more. Like these days I haven't been getting that much, but like it's generally like really hard for me to get answer comments because I have so much stuff going on in my life, and